Sorry, Rod, I couldn't hear any audio there. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay as well too. Yeah. Hopefully it's synced in.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me now?
You're there. I can hear you crystal clear through there, Rod.
Did it miss the intro?
I think we did. We were seeing you live. It was one of those, for our viewers here,
Amazing.
Perfect moment for
Wow.
Rod there.
You know what? I just noticed, everyone was telling me like, hey, you're muted. I'll add it in post. Hey, that's what happens in live.
It is.
It's the live magic. But now that everyone can hear me, also joining us, I am now unofficially calling him the president of the Pacific Northwest, repping one of the teams involved in this blockbuster trade that we're about to talk. Lars, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very, very well.
That's awesome. Jersey. Welcome back, fellas. I'm sorry for the botched intro. That will never happen again.
No.
But it is out there for the posterity. Now everyone can look at me just moving my mouth. Practice it at home. Practice your dropping dance intro, and then send it to us. And then maybe we'll do a contest. All right, folks. So we have quite a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about the blockbuster trade in the WNBA that rocked the world almost. Sadly, we're going to have to talk about the Clippers. I try to avoid this, but I think we have to give them at least some minutes in the season. And last but not least, it is heating up, and that is the MVP conversation. And before Stephen A. Smith gets out there, I want us to have this debate. All right, let's jump right into it, fellas. The WNBA blockbuster trade that happened just last night, in which the Las Vegas Aces acquired the Seattle Storm guard Jewel Lloyd, the Golden Mamba, while sending their point guard Kelsey Plum to the LA Sparks. Now, the Storm also acquired the number 2 pick from this current draft, from the 2025 WNBA draft, and forward Lee Ueru from the Sparks. And Las Vegas got the 2026 first round pick. The Sparks received the number 9 pick in 2025 and 2026 from Seattle, and the Aces will get the number 13 pick in the 2025 draft from the Sparks. But all of that to say that Jewel Lloyd is now part of the Las Vegas Aces, and Kelsey Plum is part of the Sparks. Now, I'm going to start with the president of the Pacific Northwest. Lars, you're ripping the Storm. There's been allegations also that, lots of drama in the Storm locker room, not looking great.
Yeah.
And Jewel Lloyd was part of it. But what's your take on this? Big movement to actually, it hasn't even been announced or officially announced because free agency starts on February 1st. But what you think of your hometown team now?
What I will say is the clear winner in all of this is the WNBA. Like, let's be realistic. We're actually starting off a podcast with our A block talking about women's basketball. That is so dope. Definitely. I love it. So I think, and like this is a really silly metric, but I've just started going on to Blue Sky, and so you can follow me there. And I'm trying to just pay attention, get my sources of information from a lot of different places. And one of the things that I follow, one of the handles that I follow is a Shams bot. So it's a bot for Shams Charania.
Oh, okay.
And the news for this was the most retweeted and the most quote posted in the history of that account. And I'm like, that's crazy. People care. People are caring more.
Yeah.
I want women's sports, which I love. So I'll put that out there. The W, they win. Not to 100%. Mention, in terms of, I mentioned this offline, not to be completely, male chauvinist, but the LA Sparks, they just got probably the hottest duo, aesthetically speaking, in the W, which is
without getting in trouble on my own side. You're not wrong. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying.
Let's call a spade a spade. It's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I'm beholding. But if we're talking about just the teams that are involved here, I genuinely think that the Storm have really, really won out in this. Just like you said, Rod, there's so much drama that was happening in there. And one of the reasons I think that there was so much drama is between Jewel Lloyd, who was 6-time All-Star, she's phenomenal, But between her, Neko Ogumike, who's my girl right here, got repping that jersey, and Skylar Diggins-Smith, they didn't quite know what the proper pecking order was at any point in time. Now going over to the Aces, Jewel Lloyd knows that she's not going to be number one. Let's be real, you're not going to be. So there's a little more clarity in her life, which is awesome. More clarity on the Storm, but they also moved up to the number 2 pick. And in terms of what they can potentially do with this number two pick, they could potentially get the number 1 pick, because right now Dallas, as we know, has the number 1 pick, and Paige Beckers may not want to go to Dallas. And if she's like,
That's
I'm
right.
stay for another year at UConn, Seattle can be like, hey, if Dallas, give us that pick. She'll definitely come here. And that could mean them getting UConn has a really good legacy with the Seattle Storm in terms of guards, in terms of guard play. So I am hoping beyond hope that that's what happens, because that rebuild in Seattle's a city of champions as far as women's basketball is concerned, and that's all we want back. Awesome for Las Vegas. They now have they're trying to keep that window open as possible. Awesome for the Sparks, because they're now sparking that rebuild sooner than they thought they were going to. And then awesome for Seattle, because that keeps them in the chat. So I'm super psyched about this trade overall, and each individual layer. I don't think there's any real losers here at all.
I love that. Everybody wins. And I mean, honestly, drama aside, and we can get a little bit more into it, but that's how it really felt. It's a win-win-win situation. Blake, what do you think? Is there, like Lars mentioned it, is it a win across the board situation for all of us?
I have to agree with Lars. I think he hit the hill on the head. For me, it's just, I feel like each team walked away with a positive outcome for this as well, too. We have 2 amazing players in their own right with Jewel Lloyd and obviously Kelsey Plum as well, too. And I think it works well especially for the Sparks and the Aces in terms of what they're getting back just player-wise as well, too. And then I'll talk about the Storm. But think about Jewel Lloyd. Again, obviously incredible players. Lars mentioned 6-time All-Star as well, too. And one of the cool things as well, I really think she's going to fit in well with the Aces, because she really knows a lot of those players already. You think about Chelsea Gray, Aja Wilson, Jackie Young. They all played on the U.S. national team together. They all share the same agent as well, too. And so I feel like that chemistry is already going to kind of be there to really help with some of that transition. And Lars brought up a good point. She's not going to have to force to be the number 1 option, on that team, looking at the pieces they already have. And then you see a Kelsey Plum, amazing player, all-star in her own right as well, too, just going to the LA Sparks. And she's a Southern California native. That's kind of like a homecoming for her. I wonder if if the Storm are maybe hoping for a swap there, bring her back to, where she started, UW, up there in the Pacific Northwest too. But it seems like some of the things I read, she was definitely hopeful and maybe just kind of have a homecoming. And I know the Sparks are hoping maybe after this season to re-sign her, because, I believe she has a year left on her deal. And all indications point towards that would happen as well, too. And then you see the Storm, like Lars mentioned, you get the number 2 pick, right? Aside from, some of the drama, hopefully, or things that have gone on in the organization, maybe kind of being, done with in that sense as well, too. Just having this maybe number 1 pick in Paige Beckers, if you could turn that into that. This is a phenomenal player and such a difference that she can make on that team, too. And they already have some veteran pieces in the Seattle Storm. And you think about, getting some of that young talent as well, too, like that. It's a win all the way around. So, I love this. This is the first big domino of the WNBA season. What better way to kick it off?
And it hasn't even officially started. We knew this was a big domino and it already fell. I just want to quickly go over again, because I hadn't thought about the Paige Beckers wrinkle. You're right, Lars. Dallas, I think right now is not one of the best organizations the WNBA has, and not a lot of people. We just saw Sato Sabali saying I don't want to play for Dallas anymore, and she said she's out completely. That's another big domino that has yet to fall. But maybe Paige is hearing, not maybe, Paige is hearing all of this, so she might not want to go to Dallas. And I forgot our girl from US there. Yeah. So maybe it falls down to the Storm, and oh my God, if Paige Beckers goes to the Storm, I'm gonna go to that first game. That would be crazy. Honestly, that would be crazy.
Incredible. And I think one thing too, and Lars brought up this point about, if the pieces were to fall where she may not want to play in Dallas, and to kind of look to maybe, doing that 6th year at UConn as well too. One interesting thing of that too, that again, if she decides to do that, like in this day and age with the landscape of college basketball and NIL, like the amount of money that she can make on an NIL deal at
True.
UConn for that extra year would very likely be more than she would make, obviously, in the WNBA too. So like, if you're not wanting to maybe be on a team like for Dallas, or again, if the cards fill, if she decided to go that route, like she has a genuine way to do that in a sense, or maybe another side that would say, yeah, maybe this is why I should stay. So
wait, I mean, that would also mean that the Storm would have to like basically mail it in for a season, right? To get, let's assume they like Paige says like, I'm gonna sit it out. She doesn't declare for the draft, and then would the Storm have to mail in next season to then try to get a better position for Paige?
If she does not, if Paige chooses to stay at UConn, Seattle just plays for Seattle. They're not going to tank to get to her because like she's potentially a generational player, but like I don't. They already have invested a lot of energy and time in the team that they already have. They're just hoping that this all comes together. They'd make a real big push this season to get her for next season. So if she says she wants to stay there, there are things that can happen.
I mean, they got the Sparks' 2nd pick now in this draft, so I mean, it's right there, right? It's there.
If she already says out loud that she does not want to go to Dallas, the best thing for Dallas to do is to be like, okay, well, what can I get for this?
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to draft talent in the W? Like, it's so hard to get guaranteed talent at the top of the order that those 1, 2, and 3 picks are like coveted gold.
True.
Yeah. And the Storm get right in this trade. The Storm, I believe, also got the 1st-round pick of the Aces for next year's draft. And
also
again, obviously the Aces, we would anticipate being one of the better teams. So maybe that pick is a bit further down. But if you were to maybe not do as you're maybe as good of a season as you hope in the Storm this upcoming season, at least, and you're looking to move up for next year's draft, if you do have like a Paige Beckers or whoever in that sense, like you have some draft capital that you might use from a trade standpoint.
It's going to be, this off season for the WNBA is going to be historic. We're going to see all of these players exercising their right to say, like, you know what, I don't want to play here. And, if there's any other team that wants my services, great. We're 1 season away from a new collective bargaining agreement as well. Hence why, you mentioned it, Blake, Kelsey Plum is probably looking to re-sign, but she's got 1 more year. It's all part of this drama as well. I was honestly surprised because Kelsey was a designated core player. So in my mind, in sort of knowing how Las Vegas operates, they would have kept her on the loop of like, hey, this is happening. We're looking to, or you're in the trade block. Maybe, and we're looking to move you to the Sparks. And you said, Blake, she's from Southern California. I'm pretty sure she said like, yeah, okay, I'm signing off on this. I don't know if she wants maybe a new challenge or something. Like, great for my Sparks now, which for this upcoming season, I'm full on the Sparks. I was dilly-dallying between the Storm and the Sparks, but now that we have Lars, that forced my arm to then fully go into the Sparks. Let's go. It's going to be wild, guys. It's going to be amazing. We have the Valkyries coming up this season, and then in 2 seasons, we're going to get the Toronto Temple and a new team in Portland, and then the entire West Coast from Washington all the way to California is going to have a WNBA team. That's amazing.
It is. A lot of exciting things. Yeah, I'm personally hoping to go see my first WNBA game this upcoming season as well too. Indianapolis is the closest team to me, so we'll love to go see a Fever game as well too. Caitlin Clark. So yeah, a lot to look forward to.
I'm gonna text Lars and we're gonna have to hit up a Storm game this summer.
I will definitely. I've gone to at least 5 games a season thus far since I've been out.
So. Let's do this.
Great. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep you all up to date on the WNBA's free agency. It's gonna be wild. So buckle up because we're gonna be talking about it. Trust me. All right. Moving on to less exciting topics, but I had to, guys. I'm sorry to our listeners. I'm sorry to our viewers. I'm sorry to my mom. I'm sorry to your moms. We're talking about the Clippers. and I know what you're talking, and all 8 Clipper fans out there listening to us, yes, all 8 of you, like, why is Raw talking about the Clippers? Well, they're not doing too bad. I'll be just honest with everyone. They're not doing horrible. They're not great either. But personally, after getting rid of Paul George, after the news of Kawhi not starting the season and again his body sort of breaking down on him, I thought like, okay, this is a season that we see the Clippers, at best in playing territory. And to my surprise, 40 change games in, they are doing decently good, and they're doing it in a fashion that usually works for really good teams. That is like no one is talking about them, and they're just giving out some results. As of January 27th, the Clippers are 26-19, sitting 6th on the Western Conference, just right above the Minnesota Timberwolves and right underneath the Lakers, as they should. Granted, the Lakers have a couple games less than the Clippers, but guys, I'm shocked, honestly. I don't know if pleasantly or unpleasantly shocked, but are the Clippers nice? Should we expect something from them? Or, is this just a team that is, is this their ceiling and we can expect them to sort of crash and burn in the playoffs as in past couple of years?
I have to say, we can just sense that excitement in Rod's voice, just talking about the Clippers here too. Such a big moment coming through. I mean, this is the hottest team in Los Angeles right now. I mean,
no, we're not getting blasphemous now.
I mean, when we look at
a lot of things, all right, go on dropping dimes, and I will defend your freedom of speech. We're not getting rude here.
The data supports it, though. The analytics is behind that, at least for now, as well, too. And as we get into this here as well, I mean, let's look at this, and then I'll have something to say on the Clippers and where I really think they're going to be. But I mean, who would have thought? We're coming up on the NBA trade deadline now that these Los Angeles Clippers will be 7 games above 500. I mean, me personally, coming into this season, I didn't think they would be where they are right now. And that's not just throwing any shade at the players that they have, but as a team, I just didn't really think they were built to be this successful as they are at this point in the season. But they've been proving a lot of us wrong, at least personally, just looking at that too. And I think a big thing for the Clippers has been their defense. I mean, and shout out to Tyronn Lue and the coaches there too. I mean, they've been playing phenomenal defense as of late. I mean, you look at the last 8 games, they're holding opponents to just shy under 100 points per game. I mean, 40% shooting as well too. I mean, they're doing really well on that. And you think about where they're at now, and they've pretty much been without Kawhi for most of this season. He's only played 7 games within that too. Norman Powell having a career year. I mean, leading the team in points, about 23 a game as well too. Now, will this translate, as you kind of mentioned, Rod, to what they've been in the playoffs lately, kind of, early exits? Unfortunately, I think they are still going to be an early exit team. And here's why. When you look at the Western Conference, man, it is stacked. I mean, it is every single year. It's so tough. I mean, you got you got the Thunder. I mean, you really look at teams, again, the Clippers are in 6. So right now, if the playoffs were to begin today, they're going to be going against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, I don't think they would win a series against the Grizzlies. I don't think they'd win one against the Nuggets. I wouldn't even put them against your Lakers, Rod. I mean, that's come the playoffs. That's where I think it is. And for me, the things that worry me is the lack of bench. Like, they don't really have good depth on the bench. They're in the bottom half of bench points per game. And the biggest question mark, is Kawhi going to stay healthy? And that's, I think, a big thing for them that worries me the most for that.
Oh, thank you, Blake, for redeeming yourself. I was this close on clicking on the get his butt out of this podcast button. It's right there, and it reads like that.
Had to bring it back full circle.
I appreciate it. I'll be more patient next time. This is an exercise in patience. Lars, I know you've been waiting to talk about the Clippers.
Cannot wait. Yeah, I'll jump into it right now. So for all the listeners, I just need you to know that I don't care about the Clippers. There's pretty much nothing redeeming about them, in my estimation, because similar to what Blake said, it doesn't matter how good they are. They're not doing anything in the playoffs, period. Like, especially if they're not having Kawhi. Yes, they're 6-1 when Kawhi is on the floor. Amazing. That's 7 games. We're over halfway through the season now. You've played 7 games. You're probably not going to be there for the long haul. Like, it's just wild to think that we should spend any time thinking about this team, because they're living up to their billing as the second tier team in LA, which is setting a relatively low bar right now. I love the Lakers, but they're not doing great. And if the Clippers are doing way worse than that in terms of what their top end talent can really produce, what is the point of even having the conversation about them? Like, that's where I'm at. Yeah, they've had a bit of a resurgence, but it's feeling a little bit like the Houston of old with James Harden, like putting up good numbers, but that's their ceiling. It feels like they're playing very well for what they have. Norman Powell, fantastic, cool, whatever. Like, I just don't want to waste air talking about the Clippers personally until they prove us otherwise, or until Kawhi can be consistently on the floor.
I'm gonna try not very well to be objective here, but these are, Blake alluded to numbers, so here, how's that data for you, or whatever it was said a long time ago. In points per game, they're 23rd, which bottom of the league. That doesn't really tell a lot, right? They can have a hot night or whatever. Rebounds per game, 15th, which does tell me that defensively, middle of the pack, which sort of where they are in the West. Assists per game, 25th. There's not a whole lot that is wrong with the Clippers, as much as, like Lars alluded to, I don't think there's anything that is stellar about them. And I've watched a couple of their games, sadly. I guess there was nothing else on TV. They are heavily dependent on James Harden and the reincarnation of Storm and Norman. They do require both of them to have really good games, right? We saw it against the Lakers, sadly, where they completely owned the Lakers. They had fantastic games. The entire team rallied behind them. That's, I think, the potentially best case scenario that could happen for the Clippers and a healthy Kawhi. But, on the flip side, they've had some really bad losses. Overall, in their last 10 games, they're 6-4. Same as the Lakers, but, that doesn't tell me that this is a team to be – they're not a force to be reckoned. And as it stands right now, I'll be honest, I'll give them their kudos for doing a lot better than expected. I thought Paul George was truly their best player. Turns out that, you can rely on still, I guess, wise and old James Harden and Storm and Norman, who might deserve a shout-out on the All-Star game at least. But I'm not fearful of the Clippers doing something else in the playoffs yet.
Yeah, I think one thing that scares me too, and just again, I was trying to take a look just at their schedule as well. And again, record-wise, again, I think they've overachieved just where many thought they might be at this point in the year. But you look at a lot of their wins, like for me, like they're not really winning against the top tier talent in the NBA, which again, come playoff time, that's what it is. You're going against the best teams in the league. And yeah, they did beat the Bucks the other night as well, too. Obviously, are a great team in the Eastern Conference. But, you lose against the Celtics. You lose against the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Thunder. You lose against the Mavs, like going down the line, the Nuggets again, Timberwolves again. But you're beating teams like the Trailblazers. You're beating teams like the Pelicans. Even the Nets, Miami Heat are struggling. But, they're not getting these premier wins against the bigger teams, one or two here and there. But, they need that kind of to get over that hump and that consistency as well.
What I'll also add to there with the Clippers, it feels like if they're all having a great game, they could beat any team, right? But I'm never expecting them to beat teams. And that's what you need to have come playoff time, just like Blake said. It just doesn't feel like when they're running on they have to have everything go right, and the other team has to play poorly for everything to work out. And that has happened a couple times this season for sure. But I can't take them seriously yet.
Thank you. Welcome to Dropping Down Stars. You're a fan now. But yeah, I just want to give them, this 10 minutes because I have to admit they're doing a lot better, especially when you look at teams like the Timberwolves where, yes, a big trade, but they really suffered. The Warriors, they're now, as of this moment, looking outside of the playing picture. The Kings, these teams and the Suns, teams that we've talked about recently, and they promise to be really hot teams, or at least some of them even contending, and they're at the bottom of the table, or somewhere in the bottom of the standings, looking into the playoffs. All right, no more Clippers talk for a while. Shout out to the 8 Clippers fans that listen to us. Enjoy the new arena. You no longer have to pay us rent. Good for you. Hope the wall and the cheap street stand or whatever outside of the arena is good. And enjoy your toilets. Yeah, enjoy the many toilets, guys. All right, let's move on to the actual, sauciest topic of the night, the real MVP. Now, we've preached this, especially here in Canada, from coast to coast, all the way to the Canadian Arctic, that the Prime Minister of Buckets, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, should be this season's MVP. But you then take a closer look, and this doesn't require you to be, an NBA sicko to really get into this debate, which makes it fun. But Nikola Jokic, guys, he's playing arguably the best basketball in his career. And this is the man that, without really caring a whole lot, has already won 3 MVPs. And when you look at the numbers, it makes it very hard not to want to vote for him yet again. And, there's, occasionally the Giannis or the Luka. I mean, Luka has had an off season, but we started off the year. I had him as my MVP candidate. Right now, I think the race is truly just between SGA and Jokic, but it's getting really hard to differentiate, which one of these two should truly be the MVP. I have my opinion, and I'm willing to share it, but I want to hear from you guys. Right now, getting very close to that halfway point of the season, getting close to the NBA All-Star. If you had to give the hardware, the MVP trophy, to one of these two guys, who would it be? And now, careful, I'm representing Canada, and we have 2 Americans here. We're talking about 2 foreigners, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Just be careful, guys. You might want to end up with your northern neighbor on the, just tweeting or finding you on Instagram.
You know what? Before we get into my choice for MVP, I just want to take a step back because I was looking at some stats, as one does, and I was thinking about how do I define MVP? Is it the player efficiency? Is it the guy who's the best guy on the team? The best guy on the best team is the best guy for his team, or it's who knows these years. Each year has a different definition. But I wanted to take a deeper look into the top career PER, player efficiency ratings in history. So if you look at the top 25 player efficiency ratings of all time, as far as they were recording it, LeBron has 4 seasons. He's 4 of the top 25, right? He has 4 of those seasons. Giannis has 3. Wilt has 3. Jokic has 5. He's number 20, number 15, number 12, number 2, and number 1 all time, which was last year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he has 1, and it was last year, and he was number 23, which is lower than every other great season that Jokic has ever had. The top career, he has the top career player efficiency rating in history. Michael Jordan has number 2. LeBron has number 3, I believe. So it's when you're spoken about in that rarefied air, that's beyond wow. So yeah, but then you say SGA is still relatively young. He's still relatively new. He hasn't had the time to assemble all those accolades. Sure, this year, Jokic is number 1 currently. SGA is number 2. Now, I'll also say SGA is leading the league, I believe, in scoring, and he's a top. He's the top scorer on a top team, but he's not even close to any of the other metrics. If OKC keeps winning at this rate, I might give it to him, but I would be genuinely surprised if the Nuggets didn't have a late run in it, or OKC doesn't regress to the mean somehow. I mean, you just stop and look at it. Jokic had a 30-20-15 game against the Sacramento Kings for the first time in almost 60 years. And the last I checked, he currently is 3rd in scoring, 3rd in rebounds, number 2 in assists, and all that shooting 56% from the field. Like, I don't know how you like the narrative can be SGA is he's the leading player on the top team.
Whoa. Wait, the maple syrup in my veins is starting to boil.
I'm just looking at it from a pure number standpoint right now. Also from a feeling standpoint. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, SGA has highlights, but you see Jokic just takes the ball and just like casually throws it from 75%, 25. Like the way that he threw that ball in the basket from so far away without like so nonchalantly, like that's MVP feel. Not to say that it should ever be judged off of one play by any means at any point in time, but like he feels like an inevitability. But let's be real, Mike felt like an inevitability sometimes, and he didn't win it all the time. LeBron felt like an inevitability all the time, and he didn't win all the time. So I believe that SGA is probably going to win the MVP, personally. I believe Jokic is the MVP. It should be the MVP. But what I know is that the people's MVP should be LaMelo Ball. So.
Throwing that at the end there, Lars.
Wow. I mean, sorry.
Ring the bell. End of the argument here.
Oh man,
Lars dropped the mic.
He got so many votes in the All-Star, so I figured
and still didn't make it.
Still didn't get to start. Yeah,
that's a win for ethical basketball right there.
Oh man. I have to say, guys, like when you think about these two, like SGA and Jokic, when MVP, like this is probably one of the hardest, like to me, choices at this point in the season when even talking about a VP. I mean, because these two dudes are just having incredible seasons. So, like, let's put things like as a basketball fan, like we are like, I mean, it's so awesome just to see these two guys like night in, night out, like the kind of basketball they're putting up, the kind of team effort they're putting in, like it's just incredible through that too. So this is razor thin for me. It could go either way through that too. And I will say, for those of you that might recall, my preseason MVP was SGA. So I would sound like a fool right now if I were to backtrack on that and not go with the SGA. But you know what? I'm feeling that way tonight. So for me, I am with Lars as well too. Joker is just for me MVP at this point in the season by the narrowest of margins. By the narrowest of margins. And hear me out here, because for those of you who are gonna be like, oh, he's backtracking, doesn't stick to his decisions. SGA should get it. Hear me out, okay? Again, looking at Joker, I see Lars brought some great points within as well, too. I mean, this guy is averaging a triple-double right now, the only player in the NBA right now to do that. Yes, SGA is first in scoring. Yes, when you kind of look at the metrics, especially defensively, that he's doing for the Thunder as well, too. But, I mean, you look at what Jokic is doing. Lars brought up player efficiency rating. I want to mention one thing on top of that as well, too. Jokic had a game the other night where he had 35, 22, and 17. Essentially, that is the second time this year he's almost had a 20-20-20 type game as well, too. That player efficiency rating climbed to the highest in history for a single game. And we're talking about Jokic here, just the things that he is doing. And I want to bring up as well, too. You kind of look at head-to-head. The Thunder, the Nuggets, head-to-head this year, split the series 1-1. Jokic triple-double both games. SGA, 28 points both games. Both played incredible throughout that, too. But you also look at the plus-minus. Joker have an incredible season, plus-minus. He has better field goal percentage than SGA this season, better three-point percentage as well, too. And you kind of look at the depth around. Both are great teams. But you kind of look – I remember doing we were recording about 20 games into the season. We were talking about the Nuggets. They were struggling. We're like, what's wrong with the Nuggets? Where are they going to end up at right here, too? Thunder cruising through that, too. The turnaround that they made. And the Nuggets, like – they have, or I should say the Thunder, have a bit more of a stronger supporting cast behind them than the Nuggets. Just personal opinion within that as well, too. And again, all this to say no shade towards SGA. Like, I wouldn't be disappointed by any means if he gets it. But the season that Joker is having, if the Nuggets finish within top four, and in the West especially as well, too, and he continues doing, like, for me, he should be the MVP. And I hope that people don't make the exception by saying because he has 3 MVPs and SGA, young up and coming star, doesn't, that they would give him the nod just because of that. Again, unless he fully deserves it, which he could. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I hope that narrative isn't there based on just Jokic's past MVPs.
I still need to recover. I think the entire country of Canada, guys, we don't have a prime minister. We're trying to look at something, at a leader to take us into the future. And now you're telling me that the guy that likes pony racing is going to be a 4-time MVP. Well, you know what? I'm afraid you might be right. It's getting so hard. It is getting so hard. And SGA, you deserve every loony that is thrown your way. I don't know. I was trying to make a Canadian joke. I'm running out of them. But it is getting really hard. Just before this debate, I was expecting to be the solo defender of SGA, and I was like, okay, I got the numbers on my side. I'm wrong. I was wrong. I was looking at my trusted and beloved basketball reference. I even threw Jason Tatum, Wemby, and Giannis into the mix, and obviously, I already knew that Jokic is averaging a triple double, but then I look at the other categories and I'm like, oh no, like he still got an edge over SGA. I'm like, that's fine. I know that Basketball Reference has sort of their own model of MVP award tracker based on previous voting. I don't know how they get that information, but it's Basketball Reference. They can do anything. And guess who's the number one right now? The Joker. Yeah. And you mentioned it, like it is a razor thin advantage, but it's starting to grow a little bit more. And right now, at least as this very moment of speaking on January 27th, the Basketball Reference MVP award tracker has the odds for Joker winning his 4th MVP at 68%. And again, this is a model. This is based on what they think, I assume, unless they've actually had access to the ballots. Other people have voted, or media members have voted in the past. And right underneath is SGA with 23%. I'm just going to say that, SGA, what a tremendous player. He's sort of the reincarnation of DeMar DeRozan, but with a lot more finesse. I love Debo, but if you wanted to defend the case against, the mid-range not being dead, just look at 5 minutes of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you'll see that it's still there. It's the mid-range is well and alive in SGA, and all the kids looking at him are going to bring it back. But then you look at, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, then you look at, the rebounds and the assists, and you look at, a center that looks like this doughy man that joins your Sunday rec league, and you're like, oh no, we're stuck with him. And then he puts up buckets, and he's averaging 29.9 points per game, which is, it is amazing. It is truly amazing. He's averaging more points per game than Jason Tatum, who's supposed to be, one of the best scorers in the league right now. He's averaging more than Wemby, and Wemby is, an alien. How do you compare that with someone that looks like, just laced up his shoes like 5 minutes before starting the game and probably had a smoke, in the locker room? I know he didn't, I hope, but I wouldn't put it past him. It's getting very, very difficult to give the award to SGA. Now, Blake said today's magic word. Narrative, right? This has played a role, and it's not the three of us voting. It's not, NBA sickos or NBA fans, however you want to call those basketball nerds. It's not us voting. It is the media, right? And this panel of pundits that, they, for better or worse, they have their own agenda and they have their own takes. And, that's how you sometimes end up with, these random votes for like 3 third place votes for, I don't know, LaMelo Ball. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with 1 vote at least, this year. So I don't know. The case for Jokic already having 3 plays against him, right? And sadly, he's playing his best basketball.
Yep.
Here's the thing. I do believe that the MVP race is SGA's to win. Like, he has to go out and win it, which means his team has to probably be in first place, and he has to be outstanding and have a couple of outstanding games. That's the only way he wins this. But I think that can happen. I don't want it to happen. I don't think it should happen, but it very well could. I think that the default should be Jokic, but I don't think it will be because of this narrative. They don't want a 3-time MVP foreigner in the sense that, like, not that SGA isn't a foreigner, but like, he isn't your standard archetype of what we think of when we think of NBA basketball player. And if anything, the NBA cares about image. So they've been able to sell it for the past couple of years. I would be genuinely surprised if he won it, but I would be happy because I think he would absolutely deserves it.
Yep.
I'm so glad Leo is not here right now because I don't think I could go through, giving this award to Jokic with Leo on the call.
Leo's all for it through that. I can't wait to hear Leo's thoughts on it as well too. And one thing that, like, man, in like, it's shocking to me as well too, just like, and I'm talking about both players, like how incredible Jokic is and how incredible SGA is. And like, you look at too, like I was looking at this the other day to kind of shock me, like, and I'm curious to you guys, I'm going to throw a little trivia out there for you guys as well too. So right now, top 15 selling jerseys in the NBA player wise, where do you think Jokic ranks in the top 15? Any guesses?
15 maybe?
I was going to say like 3.
14. 14th through that too. SGA, any guesses where SGA is on that?
He's got to be high. 5.
Not even top 15. Crack the top 15.
But you know what? That's the OKC Thunder's graphic design department who should all of them put them in a box and send them to Alaska.
Something like, I mean, to me, it's just that is mind blowing. Like, I mean,
maybe his name is too long.
I was trying to think through it too. Like, you look as well, like, just real quick, in case the listeners are curious too, top 10. I was kind of go through top 15. I'll rate it fast. Steph Curry, number 1, Jason Tatum, LeBron. Then you have Wemby, Giannis, number 5, Luka 6. Then you got Devin Booker, KD, Tyrese Maxey. Then you got Dame Lillard, number 10.
What?
Yeah, Dame Lillard, number 10 after that. And then you got Ja, 11, Joel Embiid, 12, LaMelo, 13.
Embiid.
Embiid, LaMelo, then Jokic, number 15, D Fox as well too. So, and I was trying to think. I don't know, OKC, smaller market as well too.
That's
but
my thought. That's absolutely my thought.
Like, it's just, man, like, you
and
kind of see that
jersey, honestly, as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of that as well, but it's just incredible when I see that. And like, I was thinking about this too, like, should Jokic, like, let's just say, we're all in consensus here, the three of us, should he win this MVP? Cements number 4 for him. For me, I think a conversation should be too, like, is he a top 5 player in history in the NBA just after this season?
Yeah.
4 MVPs, like, that solidifies it. I mean, I think top 5 easy, for me. And dude, he's 29 years old. I mean, he's had a lot of basketball.
He's 29 and looks 45.
Yeah.
So much left for the Joker. Yeah.
The sheer number of like how efficient he is as a player all time. The sheer number of points he's already scored. The sheer number of assists he's already done. Like, it's mind blowing. And then to think about, like, he goes through the entirety of his career. Once this man retires, we're never hearing from him again. Like,
100%.
He's gonna go overseas. He's gonna be riding his little ponies, and like we're never hearing from him again, which is just weird.
It's crazy.
I do think there's an argument to be made that he gets in. He has to be able to be in that conversation.
Yep.
I think,
but I also think it might be a little bit of that, like when somebody's having that GOAT debate of like MJ, LeBron, and that third person comes in and says Kobe, and they're like, well, what? Like, why are you? Not to say that Kobe isn't great, because he is, obviously, and should be in that conversation, but he's not. He's very rarely mentioned as the first person that we should And so I think Jokic is going to be the same, where he's not going to get talked about until somebody who knows what they're talking about comes in and says, don't forget about this guy, because look at the numbers. Numbers supported.
I'm having an existential crisis. I am. I truly am. And I don't want to prolong this, but I think you guys broke me. I came in with every intention of defending SGA. The numbers didn't back me up. And now we're talking about, and it is true, but we're talking about this man that prefers to watch horse racing that threw the third or the sixth longest shot in the NBA in the most casual fashion ever about being, one of the best players ever. Like, we're not talking about the season, this decade, ever. We're not gonna have, the list that you just mentioned, like all of these guys. Maybe Giannis will transcend, and maybe Luka, Wemby, but not De'Aaron Fox, not Devin Booker, certainly not LaMelo Ball. Fan favorite, sure, I'll give him that. But 50 years from now, when we're all in our communal basketball retirement home talking hoops and be like, remember Jokic, and everyone will be like, damn, yeah. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, is it that for basketball fans, we love watching players, and see their games as well too. Like Jokic plays incredible basketball. Like, is it sexy basketball? Like for a casual viewer's eyes,
God,
right?
No,
like
no.
And that's what I'm saying. Like in some
he's a walrus.
So his physique is not aesthetically friendly. However, his play is incredible. Like,
yes,
agreed.
Ethical basketball. Ethical basketball.
You're just like, how is he doing this? Like, so I think his basketball does appeal to your casual fan. I think his body of work, literally, is less so. But you can't deny the basketball genius that's there.
Yeah, and maybe it's just like, again, I don't know, something about the jersey thing just mind blowing too, and like maybe his persona, like. He doesn't, and again, to what you guys mentioned, like his hobbies outside of basketball and what that's like too. Like, he's not a social media presence, right? I mean, Joker doesn't care about that, right? Like, he doesn't do, like, at least that we see a ton of stuff like, advertisements, commercials here and there and stuff, or maybe like some other players, Shout out, by the way, Devin Booker with the Forrest Gump commercials. I love those, by the way, as I was just thinking about some quick shout out to that.
I don't know if you guys saw the 361 commercials for his shoe, and, you could see in the man's face, like, I'm being contractually obligated to do this. Yeah. Not saying that he's not happy about having his own shoe, but you could see, SGA is, dropping bars on Instagram. Shout out to him. He's got the fashion going on. Jokic, and I know we clown him for all the things that you mentioned, Blake, but also shout out for him sort of saying, I'm not a unidimensional person. I do more than just basketball. Shout out to him for that. But it's just, I don't know. I can't
be contractually obligated to have a horse of some sort in all. Like, I'm dead serious. I'll look it up and get back to you, but I'm pretty sure he's contractually obligated. Like, he wants to. He's stipulated in all his contracts that if he's going to do it, it has to have a horse in it. Which is why he had all those commercials last year where he was talking about horse riding, or like a random horse at the hotel, which was his security animal. And I was like, that's good for him. Good for him. More than anything else, here's what I'll say. I have grown to love Jokic. I did not like him because he didn't fit the model that I wanted him to fit. But and I'm glad that I'm on there now. Unlike somebody like, you might not like this, Paul Pierce. Can't stand the man. Have never been able to.
Thank you.
And he also does not look the type. He looks like somebody who you picked up at the Y, and like he's got an all right jumper. But like he's one of the best players of all time. But I don't like him as a human. Jokic squirreled his way in to, like, I adore this man and like protect him at all costs. And I can't wait till he retires and we get one glimpse of him every 17 years. That's the way I like it.
I feel like we could go on and on and on, and we'll obviously keep this up as we get closer to hardware season. But I'm gonna say that I'm surprised. I thought that initially I was gonna go for SGA, but then not only hear you guys, but also the data backs it up. It's tough. If it were up to the dropping dime screw, our MVP as of today is Nikola Jokic. End of story.
Yeah.
No questions there.
But let us know what you guys think. I know what's going to be the teaser on Instagram already, but can't wait to put it out there. All right, folks. Well, thank you, as always. Thank you to our listeners. We had a couple dropping in and out, but we appreciate you. Make sure that you type in all your questions when you're watching us on YouTube. We would love to hear from you. As always, Make sure that you're following us on Instagram at dropping.times. If you want to get a hold of us, just send us a DM. If you want to get a hold of us more formally, send us an email at contact@dropping-times.com. And again, Instagram is with a dot, the email is with a dash. Super easy, I know. You can credit me for that. Anything else, fellas?
Jokic, if you need a horse, Kentucky Derby, Kentucky's known for it. Come this way. We're ready for you.
The best way to end an episode, talking about horses. All right. Until next week, this is Dropping Times Crew signing off. Peace, love, basketball. Nay. Bye. Adios.